Kids, don't play with matches. But if you do play with matches, don't do it around pizzerias. Those things go up like they were dipped in kerosene. Jamie?
Yeah.
Tom?
Yeah.
Let's go watch Do the Right Thing. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Good Times, Great Movies, the podcast where we talk about movies from the 80s. I am one of your two hosts. My name is Doug McCambridge, and with me, as always, is Jamie Lorello. And Jamie, I have a question to ask you before we even start, because this never occurred to me, and my wife, a couple days ago, asked me, she said, have you ever called Jamie J-Lo? And I said no, but then she said, does anybody call her that?
Yes.
Are you
yes,
serious?
Indeed. People do. Yeah, sure. Well, it makes sense. Jamie Lorello, J-Lo.
I know, right? I never thought of it before.
So actually, Barrett, my husband, sometimes calls me J-Lo. His brother, my brother-in-law, calls me the J-Lo.
Wait, yeah, his brother is your brother-in-law?
That's right.
Okay,
That's
all right.
right. Just so you've got that translation. That's what I'm here for.
And, Jamie, unlike what you did with Grace DeMarco, I'm not going to make our guest just sit there for 20 minutes while we talk. We actually do have a guest here because, as we kind of said before we were recording, if there were just two of us white people talking about this movie, it would be kind of offensive and unimportant. But if we get three white people talking about this movie, then everyone has to listen. Because if MSNBC and CNN and Fox News have taught me anything, it's the more white people you get together to talk about race relations, the more important that content is. So our guest is Tom Maurer.
What's up, J-Lo and Doe Mick?
Yep, Domick, exactly.
I gotta take that one back to the drawing board.
So we have you on because anytime we do have guests, we try to bring on experts. And Jamie has told me many times how important this movie was to you, maybe still is to you. I'm not sure.
It was very important to me, and it I mean, as much as I see it, it continues to be important to me, I guess. I don't know how that works, if it's always got to be important to me every day or...
But now, what is your... I saw this movie once before. I might have been in high school or something. I don't really remember. But do you remember when you first saw this? Like, why did this movie connect with you? Why have you seen it? I think you said 20 plus times.
Yeah, I've seen it a lot. I've seen it. I mean, it's like one of my very favorite movies, so I've seen it like as many times as I've seen like my other very favorite movies. But and it's so funny. I was trying to, because of how quote unquote, from what I'm told, important it is to me. No, it isn't.
People are putting that label on you.
Yeah, but it is. It's important. It's important to all of us. I actually can't literally remember where I was sitting or what the context was where I saw it, because I must have seen it on home video.
For the first time.
Yeah, I know. The first time I did not see it like in a theater or anything like that.
But it spoke to you when you did.
There's no really good reason why it speaks to me. I grew up like in a rural part of Michigan, south of Detroit, although we spent a lot of time in Detroit with my father. But my brother was really into rap music and Public Enemy and Two Live Crew and NWA and all that stuff. And so I'm 2 years younger than him, and because we used to watch Yo MTV Raps. Do you guys remember that show?
Oh yeah, sure.
And I kind of want to think we must have learned about the movie through that show, possibly, or heard about it, because I don't know how we ever heard about movies back then. You know, we didn't have what we have now. I have like an app that's like, hey, this is out right now or whatever. But back then I have no idea how I ever knew. And I'm sure Do the Right Thing did not play in my hometown of Monroe, Michigan. But so like I wouldn't have known about race relations because there was only one race there where we lived.
Okay.
But the town was so small, like in the country, kind of like farming and factories, like off in the distance that people would drive to. But but anyway, we were really into like hip hop music, and we were really into like the politics of it for whatever reason. My dad was kind of political and pretty liberal and was a union guy, and so I think we just were like hyper aware of social issues or something like that when we were.
You were
like,
F the power.
We were F the power all the way.
Like
we went to see Mandela when he got freed, and he did like a tour of the U.S. And my brother would get these medallions. You see them in this movie actually, where they're wearing those leher strap type medallions around their neck that are for like Africa or a heart with the African colors, you know. And when we went to see Mandela at Detroit Tiger Stadium, my dad brought us because we begged to go. And because I was like a scrawny white kid who was like 11 or 12 going into the stadium, and I'm wearing this Africa medallion around my neck. And I was stopped like every 5 feet, like, do you know what that is? Do you know what that means? And I'm like, yeah. We kind of crossed over, you know, like we went to Detroit a lot. My dad was, like I said, an auto worker. We'd go down there for like the Labor Day parade, and he lived down there after my parents got divorced. And so we would stay there for the summers and stuff like that. Detroit is obviously has different issues and a different makeup than New York City in this movie. But in terms of just being more aware of, I guess, social issues or whatever that were happening. You know, you guys, I like to talk about Repo Man too, and like, you know, like Evil Dead movies and stuff. So just keep me in mind for that. I want to make sure I get into one of the funny ones where we can talk about like the guys exploding eyeballs and shit instead of like race relations.
That actually brings something up, and I wanted to almost off the top just sort of, is this going to be difficult for us, Jamie?
To get through? Why? Because it's so serious?
Right, yes. It feels so different. Even though we've covered movies that were quote-unquote serious.
This is so similar to Personal Best, though, if you think about it.
It's pretty much the same movie.
I mean, you do
like, if you close your eyes, it's like, oh, what am I watching? Do the Right Thing or Personal Best?
No, you're right, Jamie. You do see nipples, so...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you really see them in this one.
Yeah. This movie, until it gets to a certain point, it stays, I wouldn't say light, but it doesn't get as heavy.
No.
It's kind of a fun, like, I don't know. It's fun.
Even when it's fun, I mean, important things are being said throughout this movie. Which
I didn't pay attention to the dialogue. No, I'm just kidding. How could you not?
Well, wait.
I couldn't wait to see Perez's booty on that screen again. That's all I waited
she
for.
Was she was a wonder in this. That was her first movie. And Martin Lawrence's first movie, by the way. If you didn't notice him in there with
was so silly. Why did he have the weird lisp?
I didn't understand that.
I was very confused by that because he was on screen maybe 3 or 4 times before I even noticed he had a lisp, and I was like, where did this come from?
It's literally like on one block they were shooting Do the Right Thing, and then like accidentally he wandered over from a Wayans brother movie like a block over.
Yes.
It's like, no, I'm going to get you something that's happening over there. We're doing this movie right here. It is distracting in 2016. I think
it
so,
is.
yeah.
Okay, so let's just get into Jamie.
Let's
you
dive in.
You don't have anything to mention off the top.
Well, I wanted to find out
I
your
have no
guys'
house
so you
thing.
saw it, Doug, when it came out, or roughly like home entertainment type of period of time?
Yeah, I probably, so many of the movies that we cover on here, I distinctly remember seeing on HBO. So I'm sure that's where I saw
I've got
this.
that too. Maybe I did too, because I saw a lot of movies that way. I don't know. My brother, Ricky, who would love a shout out. Ricky, what's up? Sorry, I never do shout outs. I didn't know how they were supposed to work. So I'm like, what are you supposed to do when you shout out
That's good.
somebody?
We could do shout outs at the beginning. That's
You're supposed to yell and then wait for him to respond.
He is my second oldest brother, who was the one who sort of my gateway person to all this stuff. And that's why, but like, can I say one more thing about the because it's weird to say like I was influenced by this movie in my life and stuff like that, but besides social conscious issues, like at the same time I was super interested in filmmaking and movies and like just like starting to really like study movies and think about them in a different way than just like, oh, Goonies is on, or whatever, like actually like, oh, like how did they make this movie? And there was at the time Spike Lee had put out, and my brother got it from Walden Books, I believe, or maybe a B. Dalton, I'm not sure, at the mall, like a Do the Right Thing, like journal, like it was like his entire journal, like while he was making the movie, from when he started writing it and coming up with the character names and all the way to the release of the movie. And they put it out and had the copy of the script in it and all that stuff, and it was like I'd never even seen a copy of a script before because you couldn't really just the internet wasn't there. We didn't have it. So anyway,
Right, sure.
So I loved that
So
book.
it was the
and it
whole
was like
sort
the
of
whole
immersion
everything
then.
about it, the filmmaking. Yeah. So
Right.
I was deep into it.
I hope a huge portion of that was character names because I have a lot of questions.
He would literally just
You
have
are
lists.
pretty
He would just
good
write
at-
lists of names that he liked the sound of. So I think like if there's
Oh.
meaning behind too many of them, I would doubt it. Like a lot of them were named after jazz people or named after, just famous like black artists or whatever and stuff like that. And some of them, who knows? I mean, and Jamie never saw it before. No,
It's true. I said to my older brother that we were doing this movie and I had to watch it. And he's like, "Oh, I love it!" Like, and he's like quoting lines from it. I'm like, "When did you watch it? Like, we hung out together growing up. How did you watch it?" And I didn't. He's like,
protected
"Yeah,
you
you don't
from it.
remember it?" I was like, I don't." But I guess he watched it. And my brother went to school in New York, and he went to school near that Bed-Stuy area, kind of near where the movie took place. So maybe he had a different connection to it because of that. But I had not seen it. So Do the Right Thing. It opens up. The whole movie has some sexy sax, some sexy jazz music just throughout it. But we're treated to a delight of Rosie Perez just dancing, kind of.
Is that a delight?
Thrusting?
Did you enjoy that? Both
Oh my
of you?
God, I had such a crush on her by the end of
Okay.
this dance routine. Well, I mean, not really. I liked all her costume changes. Was she a fly girl?
I think she was a fly girl.
I
think
feel
her
like these
and
are fly
J-Lo,
girl
the
moves.
actual original J-Lo before you,
Yeah.
J-Lo, were
Right.
was a fly girl too. But I think Rosie
I
Perez.
know. Yeah, I know J-Lo was. I don't know if.
Well,
maybe
she's
she
got
was.
fly girl moves, I'll tell you that. She is a fly girl. Maybe not a fly girl, but she is a fly girl.
She is a fly girl. I mean, dude, those moves, come on. Those are all
I
the moves
know.
that I do when I'm at a wedding, by the way. Like, every single one of those dance moves, that's where I got those moves.
That's fantastic.
That's
That's why
amazing.
this movie's so important to
It
you.
was really
Exactly.
very good for my cardiovascular health and also for my wedding dance floor action. But so, like, I think what is good about the opening is it is dated. Like, obviously, like, when you take it into 2016, it feels a little weird. The song plays out, I think it all the way through, right? Like the Do the Right Thing. I think the Fight the Power song like plays all the
I mean, it's 4.5 minutes.
So they're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, this is the song. You need to remember it. All these things are very important. This is what this movie is going to be about. Here's this lady doing these awesome moves, and there's some kind of cultural mixing up there because it's a Hispanic lady and she's dancing, and to the Public Enemy, and it's
Sure.
it's stylistic. I think he's trying to do like a remix version of like an opening credit sequence of it, because the music, like you said in the very opening, is like super classical sounding music,
Jazzy.
and
Yeah.
throughout there's a lot of like melodramatic music choices throughout, interspersed with and then the Fight the Power is like in conflict with it. It almost feels like maybe that's what's happening there.
The thing that bothered me about the opening is the shitty sets. Like, I started to think, I was
did
like,
seem so
wait,
stagey,
is this
yeah.
movie all going to be in this terrible studio? I was so happy that we were outside and it seemed to be on location for the multitude, because those sets look like garbage.
Yeah,
when she
yeah.
was
Yeah,
dancing
If you
around.
thought
She
that's where the
dances
movie
in
was going to be
front.
set in, then that you would have been very like that. You'd be like, "Oh boy, I got to buckle in
Yep.
for some crap right now,"
Yep.
because it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for 20 minutes. We're 4
We're
minutes
still
into
on-
the
we're
movie.
still on the opening,
We're on the
yeah.
opening
Yeah.
title. To our credit, the opening title sequence is 25 minutes long.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly. It took a minute to cover that, and there was a lot to have been said. Yeah. Well, but after Rosie, we see our next big star. We see Samuel L. Jackson, who is the DJ, right, for We Love Radio. He's Senior Love Daddy, the Ryman DJ,
I love
flippity
this.
flop.
He's a 12-hour DJ too.
Yeah, he's
That's
always
amazing.
on.
I love
He
it.
is.
Yeah.
And he's like old school. He's a DJ. He's flipping albums. He's got records that he's playing for the people.
And he's got, if you look really carefully in the front, and you notice this throughout the movie whenever they cut back to him, he's got like 20 different types of hats, and he's got a little hat for every
Yep.
kind of emotion. And like he's like, I'm going to be Afrocentric. Boof. I'm going to be the crazy cowboy. I'm going to be. I mean, like he's got a lot of hats.
Yeah, and it's nice too because he's sitting in front of this big window, so he just looks
Yeah.
right out on the neighborhood. At first, I was like, "Oh, he must be like 5 or 6 floors up." Later,
Yeah.
you
No,
see
he's like
on
floor
the
levels.
ground.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Like getting sprayed by the water and like, hey.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, when they open the fire. Yes. Well, it is a hot day, P.S. We
Yeah.
know that right away.
Because the first 25 characters say
It's Jerry
hot.
Curl alert. Jerry Curl alert. They make the announcement. Because it's damn hot. I love it when people get that excited about the weather, and we do.
How do you guys feel about these type of movies that are just like a day, like just take the, like I love that kind of movie. Like it goes over the course of a night or course of a day, but it's like more episodic until like because it doesn't have a traditional type of plot. Like, is that annoying to you guys? Or is that like...
I love it too. If the characters and the location are established well, as it is in this movie, I really enjoy that because yeah, you're right. If a scroll comes up that says 3 years later, there's nothing that bothers me more in a movie than something like that. When we've been watching it for 10 minutes.
Yeah. So like, and it makes it, if you realize, I don't know, if you realize that's what the pace of the movie is going to be, then you can kind of handle all these little interludes where it's just like, everything's just like a weird, like none of the scenes necessarily connect, I guess, except when there's character going from one to another.
No, it's just about meeting all the different people.
And I think that's the main thing with the first, I don't even know if it's the first half of this movie, Jamie, is we're just introduced to the characters.
Right.
And it's just these little tiny episodes and we bounce around. And it's so great because of that. I mean, I feel like I know this neighborhood. I know these people. I kind of wanted to be there, which I sort of have. I don't know if I have a problem with that, and we can talk about it later.
That you wanted to be there?
Yeah.
It made you uncomfortable?
Wow. This is going to get dark fast. He's like, I was uncomfortable with how much I wanted to be around those people.
Well, the cops
you just
every
like
now
pizza.
and then keep mentioning things about how threatening it is and blah, 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 blah. I never saw any of that. Even when they're threatening people, it was laughable. When they're yelling at that guy in the Celtics t-shirt, I was like, this is really kind of funny. He doesn't seem scared. He clearly wasn't.
No, it's very silly and
they didn't seem like they were going to do anything.
Yeah,
right.
You know, it's interesting. Like, I think it's probably like a real actual choice on their part. Like, they didn't show any movie with like black people from the late 80s, like New Jack City or something like that.
Yeah.
There's going to be guns, there's going to be drugs and all that stuff. And they just, like, that's not even in the movie. And I think that's like kind of like, that's like, I would assume like a real choice. Like, you know what, we're going to make, because it has a back, like I was reading about how they had, like, they painted like everything more like the reds and the oranges, the whole neighborhood, to give it like to accentuate the heat and stuff. But I think it also feels like a little heightened. Like, it doesn't feel like the real, what it must have been like like on that block in that on that day. But
like it's somewhere between like Boys in the Hood and Friday. Like, it falls in the middle there. It's really nice.
Yeah, because it's like a comedy and a drama, and they, you know, I mean, ultimately it's a drama, I guess, because of like how it
takes quite the turn. Well, I wouldn't say turn. I guess
it's really funny
getting to there.
And there's all these, like, it's just like all that popping around and meeting all the people, like you're saying, for the first hour of the movie. I think that's probably right. Like,
I think it's great.
And because you're learning about all of their individual like own racial prejudices, as well as like the, you know, like the personal issues they have in the neighborhood with the other personalities. So you can tell that it's like a powder keg, like it's slowly boiling. But also, you're right, there is a long period of time where you're like, you couldn't even imagine there was going to be violence by the end of it. You know what I mean? Because it's just like, this is just like a fun, this is like 227 around here. This is great.
Yes, that's what I was enjoying, kind of my walk around the block with these people and getting to know all of them. And I wanted to have pizza, and I wanted to go to Sal's, and I wanted to, All right,
so Jamie, all of these characters, you just want to run through them? Let's
do it. Because we do, as the movie goes, we are like introduced to them. So we meet, Smiley is one of the guys that we meet. He's I know, did you not think I was going to start off with Smiley? Smiley's adorable. He's the stutterer. He has a bit of a fluency issue. And he sells like Malcolm X cards and cards with pictures of prominent black leaders, I guess, on him. And he's just sort of the town, I don't know what you call him, stutterer, I guess.
He's just like stutterer, yes. The classic town stutterer.
Every town needs one. And
there's a character just like him in what I was trying to say the name of the place where Andy Griffith lives. What the hell was that town? Mayberry. Otis. No, he's more than a stutterer, Jamie. I think he might actually have special needs. He clearly has more than like he's obsessed. I mean, he's like, it's Malcolm and Martin. He's kind of torn. Yes. But I know an interesting fact about this character, if you guys would like to know it.
About the
drop
character?
it.
Yeah,
Drop
the character
it.
was not in the script, and I don't know if I knew that before, but I was reading about that recently, and I guess like that actor, he's actually a really I don't know what he does today, but I know he was like a theater actor and like a Shakespearean actor kind of guy. So, but he wanted to be in the movie so bad, and he just like, I guess, invented that character, and Spike Lee sort of integrated him. It feels like he's central to it in some ways because of
at the end he is.
the
Doesn't he light
Malcolm
the fire?
and the Malcolm X Martin Luther King that are in the picture that he's constantly referring to, like that
Exactly.
war between those two things, and how it ends with a quote from either of them that are sort of completely kind of contradicting each other. It's super interesting, but he's a broad character though, right?
Well, and he is. We meet him now, and then he reoccurs throughout. You know, he's just like everybody in the neighborhood. He's kind of always there. Okay, so there's the pizzeria. There's this lovely neighborhood, and then there's the pizzeria in the neighborhood that is run by Sal, the owner, Danny Aiello, who is always lovely and Italian and Guinea-esque. And there's his sons Pino and Vito, if you could get any more Guinea than that.
Yeah, is that named after wines? Like, I was wondering if it's like...
Well, Vito is not a wine. Vito is just...
Oh, I was thinking
Vito.
Vino.
I thought his name was Vito.
I think it's
Vito.
Vito.
Yeah, and I think the brother is Pinot, like the wine, I guess. The older brother, who has more of an issue with, I guess, being in the neighborhood and just going to work in general. And he's kind of the crabbier one, Pinot, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and he's got more of the simmering, or less, he's got the more on the surface racial resentment, whereas Sal sort of has kind of like we have a way things have been done all these generations.
Totally.
There's a truce between peoples and whether we feel one way or another about them, but he's kind of like
Sal loves
the
that
kids
he's
are like
been.
both sides. The kids are like both sides of Sal's kind of personality in some way.
Yeah, Vito seems okay with everything. He also seems like kind of an idiot.
Yeah, he seems like he might be taking the same bus as Smiley to school. Sorry, Jamie.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. Wow, I'm the offensive.
In this pizzeria, there is Mookie. Mookie is our Spike Lee, is our main character.
Can
right?
we? And I don't mean to speak for you guys. Is Spike Lee the worst actor in this movie?
Oh,
I
think he's
I
written
just
himself-
destroyed you.
No.
I was a bit irritated by his
what?
choices.
Oh, interesting.
In clothing,
I didn't
though?
hate him in the movie. But as I was watching it again, I realized like he's not like he wrote himself the perfect part because he barely has to. He doesn't really emote necessarily. Like he's got some funny comedy bits that he does with guys, and that all works good. I think it's whenever he has to be a little more
Right.
Like when he has that scene with his that fight with Rosie Perez,
his sister?
well,
Oh.
and with his sister, yeah. You feel a little bit of the strain, like, oh, this guy didn't go to acting school with all these other people in this
Right.
movie, yeah, because all the movie's filled with like great New York actors, and then he's Spike
right.
Lee.
Maybe it was just me a little bit. I did not enjoy Spike Lee in this.
Yeah,
Spike Lee movie.
which part is the part that like sticks out like the worst to you?
Oh, every part that he's in. To me, it feels so stilted, and he just never seemed comfortable to me. I think that's what I thought.
Well, you know what? Agree to disagree. I enjoy him in the movie.
Definitely.
He's in his.
I like his choice
plays
of baggy wear. Very oversized shirts.
His ensemble
Always.
is amazing.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
definitely. I try to copy his walk for. I used to.
And he's so tiny, too.
He's got
He
the
is
tiny-
a little man. He's a little guy, huh?
adorable.
He's got the best
Yeah.
moment in the movie that sticks with me. Like whenever I go into a parking lot and there's like I can see someone with a clipboard or someone who wants some money or something like that, where you know you're gonna have to go through like a couple people to get into the store, and he just walks out of his stoop and there's some people standing there with like a change thing and like a donation box or whatever, and he just goes, "Hell no!" And he just keeps walking right past them. I'm like, why can't I ever do that? I'm always like, let me see if I got anything in my pocket. Oh, geez, I didn't get any change in my. I'm sorry, but he just cuts him down, and it's perfect.
He plows through this town. Like Mookie is well known in the neighborhood, and like when he delivers the pizza.
Okay, that's my biggest problem with the movie.
Is that he's the pizza
Is that
delivery
he's
man?
the worst pizza delivery guy ever?
He is.
No, I love that
He
he's
takes
not
a
that,
very
like a bad
long
employee. I
time.
think that's funny. Like that's a funny character note because you know, like there's some racial politics there. Like you know, like
Right.
the whole lazy black guy thing. And I think purposefully like, no, you know what? Yeah, this is a guy who takes a 2-hour lunch break just like you do, and you know what I mean. But why are they getting pizza delivered if they all live like a block?
Yeah, like he's walking them up the street.
And who in the fuck on the hottest day of the year wants fucking pizza at 10 in the morning?
Everybody, apparently. Everybody. Sal's like is jumping.
If you would take the premise of the movie, like it's the start of the day, right? Like it starts at the beginning of the day and ends at the end of the day. So that means in the morning, people are eating pizza like crazy on that block.
They wake up starving, and nobody wants to turn their oven on in that kind of heat. No one wants to turn their oven on.
Pizza for breakfast.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, the issue you have with the delivery, though, one point, it's Rosie Perez, who just wants him to come over. He also has to deliver to the DJ, who, of course, can't leave his studio.
Right, no.
And then I think we maybe see one other delivery, so it's not a... I mean, I don't know if he's out delivering all day, but we only see, like, him deliver 3 times.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like we see him leave more times with pizza in his hands, getting yelled at by Sal.
Yeah, maybe. I do love, there's a great interaction. The first time he leaves and he looks at the receipt and goes, "Is this the address?" And Sal's like, "What? Is that the address?" Yes, it's the address.
I like how later he's making a call. I like when he's making a call to Rosie Perez and he's on a payphone, and that's like the work phone is the payphone because that's where they get the deliveries. They're like, "Oh, he's clogging up the line." I'm like, "Wait, that's your phone that people call for deliveries?" It doesn't seem to make sense.
I love that because it didn't make sense. I hope somebody is listening that grew up in Bed-Stuy, and please tell me if there were payphones as business phones in a restaurant.
That's the weirdest thing. Like, you wouldn't have a phone line if you've been in business that long?
Maybe Sal has to budget. I don't know. Maybe the neighborhood's I don't know.
It bothered me so much. Anytime we were at Sal's, I was frantically looking for just a rotary phone sitting on a table, and I didn't see one.
No. And in fact, the moment he hangs up, it starts ringing because people have been trying to get through.
Yeah, they're trying to get in line.
To the payphone at Sal's where they order the pizza through. I worked at Tiffany's Pizza for 2 years, the last 2 years of high school.
Shout out to Tiffany's Pizza.
Tiffany's makes some delicious pizzas in Monroe, Michigan, and surrounding areas. Anyway, I worked there. And let me ask you a question, Jamie, since you worked in the pizzeria. And Doug, have you ever worked in a pizzeria?
No.
Okay, so you can...
I did a lot of restaurant jobs, but never pizza.
Well, maybe you've made a pizza in your own home. But when I watched Danny Aiello making a pizza, he's talking to Mookie, and at one point he's pushing the dough around, he's putting flour on it. And I really feel like he was super over-flouring that dough. Like, why was he putting so much flour on it?
I don't even know how to make a pizza. And I was like, that dude is doing it all wrong. That is not right.
Danny Aiello, you could have done a little research.
Yeah,
like
his positioning was all wrong.
Yeah.
We haven't even introduced the characters that are in
We're getting there. We're around the neighborhood. So we've talked about Martin Lawrence. He's in it. He's sort of a one of, again, kind of neighborhood, just kid. There's a group of like 3 of them. There's just a young girl. I don't know who she belongs to. Yeah. So there's this gaggle of friends. And then there is this Radio Raheem who is carrying the boombox, right? Which we all know is a cool.
I love Radio Raheem. Easily my favorite
the right
character
hand is
in this
love.
film.
No, wait. Left is love?
Oh, yeah. The right hand is
so great.
Love and the left hand is hate. He's got these rings. That's later, though. That's later. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Also, Spike Lee's great in this. Go ahead.
I'm not arguing that he's great. I'm saying he's effective in the role that he's in. He created a role for himself where he's like a conduit, and he doesn't have to necessarily emote so much, but he does get. Right. I think maybe he needed to be in the movie because of the action he takes at the very end. I feel like if he put it in any other character's hands, then they had.
I didn't judge him for his acting abilities. I found him quite adorable, and that's all we have to say.
I'm just saying, Martin Lawrence is right there. He could do this.
What a different movie that would be. He's dressed like his grandmother for half of it.
He's Mother Sister. Another character we meet who I love, Mother Sister. She's sort of the feminine kind of older black woman character in the movie, hence her name, Mother Sister. We also meet besides Danny Aiello and the Sal's Pizza, there's also this Korean grocery store.
Yes,
and we meet them, the Koreans and the owners of that. Who's the mayor? The drunk fool?
Duh
mayor.
Because I love it how he says, that's why you're called Duh Mayor.
Oh,
Drunk ass mayor.
That's right.
And he's
I
Ozzie
don't know.
Davis.
He's drinking like 3 beers a day. It seems like. How drunk could he possibly?
He had one
Well,
beer and he was
he's-
already stumbling around though, so I guess maybe he was already.
He
drunk
might have some
from
other
the-
problems.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, he definitely does not have anybody to clean his suits. That is rough because he looks like he's homeless, but we see the first time we see him, he is clearly in a home. He's in his own home.
Yeah.
But he's
But
Ozzie
he's
Davis,
had
and he
some
was
hard
married
times.
to mother sister in real life. You know, they're a married
Yeah.
couple. They're like a way back, like they're like acting royalty for in the African American community, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
R.I.P. Ozzie Davis.
Yeah,
Is,
and probably
what's her name dead too?
Ruby D. I think she might be too. I'm gonna do the
okay.
thing I do for you guys. Check the internet.
There we go. You could just make the fact come out. We could make small talk.
You know
where
what?
You all
I
of a
don't.
sudden
You know what?
find
I
the
can see
fact
why you
in your
don't do it
brain.
because it's annoying to do it. Like it's just like let the people yell at their podcast machines.
Let them do the research. We're
Yeah.
just here to tell them.
Oh, also, but I love it too because we get tweets. Jamie, speed walking is an event. It is an event, and somebody, I forget who it was, tweeted to us and said, "It is ridiculous as you think it."
Are you saying it's an Olympic event, speed walking?
Yes.
What? No.
Canadians are
Like
probably
the speed
really
walking
good
that
at
Billy
it.
Crystal and his friend are doing in When Harry Met Sally when they're walking like really fast. Like the,
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is an event.
That's ridiculous.
Yes.
So wow,
Of course.
wow. So people in the malls are really training for something, and I thought they were just
You
walking
never
around.
know.
You thought they were just the elderly. No,
That's
they're
right.
Olympic athletes.
I didn't realize that.
They're
Wow.
getting ready for. Well, they would be there, right? Is it a summer sport? I assume.
Is it a summer
I
sport?
I don't.
It's the Summer Olympics.
Well, because you could do it in the winter as well. I assume.
If you're in a mall,
That's when they should have that event. Is like in the Winter Olympics. That's when it's really hard. Anybody can speed walk.
But exactly.
yeah.
yeah, they call that but cross country skiing is kind of the same thing, right?
But you're not just walking.
Yeah, but
on
there's more apparatus. There's more gear.
Nice.
But what does
Apparatus.
that matter?
I guess
All right.
that's right. Apparatuses doesn't make. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
All right, Jamie, go ahead. Because I don't know who's left. Anybody left?
Oh,
Really?
Rosie Perez. Well, we officially meet her, and she is a single. Well, she's not single. She's Mookie's girlfriend, but they don't live together, and they have a kid together though, who's asleep through half
She's
the film.
comatose
I
the
think
entire
that she's-
movie.
Yeah, I think that they drug him. I'm not sure. Yeah, like they're fighting over him at one point. She's like cursing up a storm and grumbling, and he's just like out cold. Like I feel like they give him a lot of Benadryl. I don't know what
Yeah,
they give the kid, but he is out. Like someone's either always carrying him or he's asleep.
Yeah, when Mookie comes in for that ice, I was like, is that kid okay? Literally.
Yeah, no, he's
The
not.
mom's just holding him because she
grandma.
lives.
The grandma,
So she
yeah.
lives right. She lives with her mom and yeah. Now, see, I didn't think that they lived in the same neighborhood, but I guess when he delivers pizza to her,
Yeah.
you assume that he
Well,
does.
she's never outside. Like she's
always
the
holed
only
up in her
character that is
apartment.
inside. So we don't see her interacting with anyone but her mom.
True.
So
You think
you're right.
he
I didn't know how
imagined her?
far away she was.
Do you think
What?
she's not real? You think there's like a supernatural subplot to this movie? She's doing a weird dance. In the
She's
beginning,
always
like
near
maybe-
a fan. Yeah, it's weird.
They died in a fire years ago. That's why at the end when he's like, "Sal, I got to go see my kids," Sal's like, "Oh, poor Mookie." He still thinks
no
his kid's
idea.
alive.
Thinks he has
Aw.
a family. They don't exist.
I didn't think we'd be able to make fun of this movie. This is great.
You got to work around the
see?
edges. You just got to work at the edges.
Right.
I didn't think anybody was going to badmouth Mookie's performance in this movie.
No, I call them as I see them.
My other characters that we meet are my three favorite characters, the three black dudes that just kind of sit outside and they're just talking about Mike Tyson and the weather
Yeah,
and
they are the best.
the ice. Yeah. They're the best because of their names. Can you tell us their names? Can you tell us all their names?
I love Sweet Dick because it's Robin Harris. Now you got your ringtone, Jamie.
That should not have made me laugh that much. We're going so lowbrow here now.
That's because we can't make fun of anything else.
I know.
Oh my god.
Coconut. I can't remember. The other names don't come to me as quickly because obviously the most memorable
One of them
name
was
is Sweet
one
Dick.
of them was more Jamaican, right? He was
Yeah,
from
that's
the
Coconut.
islands.
Well,
I think it was just initials, right? Wasn't it like ME
Yeah.
or
Oh, yeah,
something?
ML.
Because they say, what does
Yeah.
ME stand for?
Yeah, the other one
And
was
he
just
says,
initials.
It
Yeah.
stands for ME. And they're like,
Yeah.
what?
the guy,
Yeah.
the actor, I don't know his name either, but who is usually sitting to the right, and he's like, he's not the more Jamaican one, but he has an accent as well. His name is Coconut something or other.
Right,
Coconut,
yeah.
It's
I
I'm
didn't
supposed to be
write
an
that
expert, so I should have known it was Coconut Sid. Oh, and Sweet Dick Willie and ML. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So anyway, good call. But those guys are the best.
They're kind of the neighborhood gossip of sorts, if you will.
Yeah, I think they just kind of comment. They're like those guys in the Muppets who are just
the
like
Muppets,
constantly commenting on everything. You know,
Yeah.
Pretty much.
they're like the really racially charged, like kind
Yeah,
of.
the Jamaican guy, though, he has a big problem with the Koreans. I don't
Yeah.
Oh,
I
that's
did
right,
not
he does.
quite understand that.
Well, I
but-
think that is a pretty common trope, that idea of like black people and Koreans, and I don't know if it's because there's a lot of Korean markets in those like more black
Right.
neighborhoods, or there were. Is that Jamie? What do you know about it?
Well, they do, and I do love cause they do
Jamie,
have
you
a
lived
deep
close enough to that place that you would know.
They do have a little deep conversation there about how, like, why is it that the Koreans own something in our neighborhood and we don't own anything in our neighborhood? I want one of you fellas, I'm paraphrasing here, one of you fellas to open up a market of such in the neighborhood. So, yeah, I think there's tension in that.
But they are just like, it's because what I really love about this movie is that Spike Lee is sort of seeing things from all different angles, because you
Yeah.
have these guys sitting there talking about this, but all they're doing is talking shit. Like, they're clearly
Yeah.
this is all they do every day.
Yeah, this was their job.
So
This is just sitting
yeah.
there,
So
yeah.
at one point, one of the guys is like, "Where's this business that you're starting? You're not doing shit.
Right.
You
Right.
haven't
Right.
done anything. You don't have any money. At least they're doing something."
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, and it's like one argument was really valid, and one argument it was like there's some weird resentment here that I don't understand. But I think like because it like like the guy said, you're not building, like you just said, you're not going out there and starting your own business or whatever.
Right.
But I thought what's interesting about the movie is like there is like this whole commentary, like there's supposed to be like there's the Korean market that they go to, and then there's the Italian guy's restaurant where they get some food, and there's like the Hispanic dude who comes down the road with a little, I don't know, that scraper
The
thing,
ices.
where he was scraping
Yeah.
Yeah.
what is that?
Big
pretty
block
fun.
of
That's
ice.
not gelato,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's shaved
No,
ice.
no,
Shaved
that's
ice.
not gelato. It's like a
Okay.
shaved ice, yeah.
All right. Well, I thought shaved ice was an Italian thing too, but that was not
Well,
an
no, the
Italian dude.
ices, like Italian ices, like what he gave the kid at the pizzeria, kind of the same.
Isn't it
It's
the
kind of
same
the
thing?
same thing,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah, but then
I mean,
those
it's
horrible
basically the
kids,
same
as soon as the ice cream truck comes around the road, they're like,
Go
"Fuck you,
running.
ice guy, we're out of here."
Mr. Softy will get you every time.
And that
I
ice
know.
cream truck does not even stop for those kids. It just keeps going.
That ice cream truck was on its way to the next neighborhood. It's like
Yeah.
these kids don't have no money for
Right.
these
If there's
miles.
one thing I know about ice cream trucks, they're stopping for children. Like, that's your job. You don't just drive away.
Back at the pizzeria. So we kind of met our main characters. Oh, I don't know if we mentioned Mookie has a sister, Jade, who I didn't know that was actually the sister of
Because they're in
Spike
bed
Lee.
together
So-
at the beginning?
Yeah, at first it did trick me. I was like, oh, girlfriend, boyfriend. Oh, no. Hey, sis. Hey, bro. Oh, all right. But they live together, and she's helping him out. Yeah, he's, I wouldn't say a deadbeat dad, but he delivers pizza. He's got a kid and whatever. So back at the pizzeria.
Hold on. Can we just, again, I
go
feel
ahead.
like I'm not letting you do what you're supposed to do, Jamie. But did we know that Mookie was the father of that kid before he delivered that pizza?
Yeah, I feel like we...
Because Rosie Perez at the beginning is talking to the kid like, "Your dad's a piece of shit." Da 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 da. And we get an idea that Mookie is seeing her, but I didn't know that was his kid until he comes over to deliver the pizza. Am I wrong on this?
I don't know that they
well,
expressly say it, but or
Yeah.
if anybody even says to Mookie like, "Hey, you have a kid" or whatever.
I was
but,
really surprised.
But I mean, because you know they're together, and the kid is clearly more black, like in complexion, like he looks. I think maybe you just I made that connection, but again, I've seen it a lot, and I already knew. Like after the first time, I already knew. So like
Jamie,
I guess
you made that connection, so I guess I. Was
But you're
just-
right, Doug. She doesn't. They don't actually say it like until there's a point when she's arguing with him and she says, like, you haven't even seen your son or your kid, or makes the connection.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of learn more as you learn more about
Yeah.
these people throughout the day. Like, you learn little details, and you're like, oh, that fleshes out them, makes them a little more human.
Right. Well, like later on, we see that Sal, Danny Aiello, kind of has the hots for Jade.
That part has always really upset
weird.
me, I have to say.
Very weird,
Good.
right?
I'm glad that was the weirdest
Because
part of
every
the movie.
time I see it, I tell myself, this isn't what I'm thinking. Because Danny Aiello is just, like, really nice to the
He's
sister.
such a nice
Like, you see
guy.
all these
Yeah,
shades
yeah.
to his character. Like, he's got, like, Sal's got all these interesting, complicated shades. And you're like, oh, he's like a total dick to Mookie. Then 5 seconds later, the sister walks in, and he's cool to
He
her,
really-
to Jade, yeah.
Right.
And you're like, oh,
Yeah,
he's
like
nice. He's like a
overly
father.
cool though. He's like, no, I'm going to make her my special pie.
Then
my
it gets a
special
little
pizza.
weird, and then it keeps
Yeah.
getting weird. And then Mookie has to be like, this is weird. But then I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
maybe it's not supposed to be weird. Maybe it's innocent to...
No.
Well, to
'cause
her
the
it is, I
camera,
think.
the camera hangs on Danny Aiello at one point, and he has this longing look at her, and I'm like, this
Yeah.
is so weird.
Yeah. Yeah. And when he makes her a special pie, like just for, it's like,
Well, let's unpack this. Why, if that's the case, why?
let's unpack
In
this.
a weird way, I almost felt like Spike Lee was giving the character of Mookie more of a reason to throw that trash can at the end, where he didn't need to. I didn't think I don't think the sister even needed to be in this movie, and that's a shame because there aren't a whole lot of women in this movie already.
That's right.
But that character, she bothered me. She really didn't serve a purpose.
Well,
didn't think.
I don't know if I agree with
She
that.
had that great hat that she wore. At
Oh, that
point.
big pink
That
hat?
pink hat,
No,
yeah.
I like that she was like still wearing her Easter outfit a couple months later. But no, I think she's like, I don't know. I mean, I guess it'd be interesting to know what the motivation was behind. I mean, no, but anyway, I don't know if I think you're right. Probably like as a dramatic point, it just gives a little extra bit of oomph to him moving towards that decision because you realize this is his livelihood that he's throwing away by doing that at the end. You know, in some ways, I mean, like
$50 a week.
yeah, but she like I don't know if there's a thing about like. You know, well, yeah, white men are fine with our women, you know, and our entertainers and all that. But, you know, for the men, they're like more harsh and have a lot of judgment. And I thought maybe it was something like that. But then it goes in that weird kind of sexual territory where it's like, I don't know what the point of this is except just to like, maybe you're right, just raise the stakes. And
yeah, it is really weird because the camera then shifts to everybody, to his two sons. And
Yeah, even
they
the
look
sons. Like,
uncomfortable
everyone
with
is
this.
uncomfortable by it. Everyone is uncomfortable.
Except
with
for
his,
Jade.
And Jade's just like,
Jade's just
what? I
like,
get pizza
"He's a
out of
nice
it.
man.
It's
I
delicious.
like pizza.
Yeah.
well, she's grown up on this block. She thinks of him in a father figure type of way. This is pretty common. Probably happens to a lot of women who they grow up around some man who seems like this nice figure at the pizza place. And next thing you know, it's like Creep Town, you know what I mean? Because like she's an adult woman now or whatever. But they do linger on the son's faces watching. So there's clearly like Mookie's looking at it from one point of view of a black man, and they're looking from the point of view of a white guys at looking at their dad, and they're both coming to different the same conclusion, but with different angers about it. And so maybe that's what that's there for, you know. Maybe.
So let's get into, I guess, the plot of
All right,
this
so
movie.
yeah,
I don't
okay,
even
so-
know. I don't. We
so
can
back
just do
at the-
this
so-
and then just say the end when we're done.
In a way, that's what the movie does, though. Like it,
Yeah.
you know, like it. And
It just tosses these things at
and
you.
you
It
learn
just tosses
more
these
about people, and you
and
learn
these
more
events.
about what's irritating them and what's getting under their
Right.
skin, and the heat is making everything worse, and they really accentuate
Right.
the heat, and that's like obviously to the point. I mean, like that's we've seen even our own. Like, I mean, that's what happens. Like the summers
In
when
the
these things
summertime,
really pop
sure.
off. You know.
Yeah. And I think we have to talk about the catalyst of all this, which is, what's his name? Buggin'
Out.
Yeah,
Bugging
who's the
out.
guy? So there's the guy, Buggin' Eyes with the glasses, right?
Right.
He's sort of like a poet-esque. How would you define his character besides kind of a troublemaker?
Well, he's like a militant, like he's really
okay.
like, because you can tell by like how he's dressed and put together that he's got like I mean, many of them are wearing Africa medallions and that kind of, because that was really popular, like the color scheme and those Africa colors is like, but he seems like he's a little, like he's educated on these issues and he's militant,
Sure.
but he's also pointing his rage in the only direction that's in front of him, not necessarily the most like the perfect place for him to put his political argument, but
Right.
but he's hilarious too. I think it needs to be said. Like I think he's a
yeah.
really funny character. Like the way he freaks out on the guy at his like in the Larry Bird shirt and everything like that, and like that,
Well, and it's the way that's played out too, when the camera gets all in his face about it, and it's kind of like this.
And it helps that he's got those glasses that make him like he's completely in your face. Like he's almost like a cartoon character. Like he's like, not to the degree Martin Lawrence is, who's just like starring in his own Martin Lawrence movie over in the side. But
he is like an odd cartoon character. And you're saying he's militant, but you see later on that nobody takes him seriously. Like when he tries to boycott,
when he's trying to boycott
Sal, it's the best because the responses people give him when they say you should boycott that barber who gave you that haircut.
Yeah. People kind of think he's a joke. Yeah.
They're all not a single person. They're like, no way, that's where we get our pizza, you idiot. We're not going to go do that. Radio Raheem isn't even really down on the picture. He's just like fine the pictures. I guess I'm upset about that, but really he just wants to be able to
upset about his radio.
Do something that I don't think anybody should be allowed to do, which is to walk into a restaurant and blast music at the top of like the volume.
It's very obnoxious when he does that. Well, okay, so the problem that we have that what is his name with Coke bottle eyes?
Buggin' out.
Buggin'. Yeah. Sorry. But the problem Buggin' has is that in the pizzeria, Sal has pictures of Italian sort of icons. Frank Sinatra, Sophia Loren. We see her burning later. We have all these kind of Italian
Did that upset you, Jamie?
Yes, it did. I'm not
Did it
gonna
hit you right in your heart, in your Lorello heart?
It's like, not Sophia.
Oh, no.
So they're all up on the wall, and it's very upsetting to him. He wants some black culture represented on the wall, and Sal disagrees. This is his pizzeria. He can have on what he wants to have on.
Right, and he kind of throws him out, or Mookie's his friend, so he gets Mookie to kind of throw him out.
And again, what is Mookie doing? When he's not delivering pizza, he just looks like he's hanging out with some friends at a booth at the pizza place.
Well, I kept wondering things like, who's washing dishes in the back?
Yeah, who's keeping this place orderly?
See 4 people working there. One of which is never working.
Vito's useless, too. Let's face it. What does
Vito
do?
Actually, I feel like every time Sal tells one of his sons to do something, they say, yeah, Pop, or whatever. They have a fight about it, but you never actually see them doing anything.
Anything getting done.
No, they don't really listen.
I mean, maybe I see them wiping a counter, but I feel like Sal is really holding the place together.
He really
Mookie is the only one.
He's making
delivering
all the food. Yes. He's working the cash register. He's waiting on the customers. Mm-hmm. You only see them all cleaning up at the end of the night. That's the only time you see them doing anything.
Together, where they're actually working with their dad. Yeah, no, that's true. And I think it's probably, well, I don't know about the dumb brother, but the angry brother is, I think he's angry also about just having this business in this neighborhood, and he doesn't want to be there anymore. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of understand why he's fed up with it or whatever. Mm-hmm. But
and let me tell you, has either of you ever ran through or played with an open fire
I thought that was a made up thing.
Never.
Yeah,
we grew up in the country.
No, you do it. You do.
I don't think we had fire hydrants. I don't know how the fire department put out fires.
I don't think they did. I think they just let them burn. Just like, we'll just build another one over there.
Well, there aren't a whole lot of houses around here. It's not like it's going to spread.
Yeah, what's the big deal? Just throw another house up. There's plenty of land to go around. And they blast that Goomba from Martin Scorsese movie who accidentally drives through the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's so what I didn't understand about this guy. Yeah, so this Italian guy comes cruising by, and at first I was like, is he going to the pizzeria? Can't he go down a different block? Why can't he just make a U? He doesn't want his car to get wet, right?
Yeah, so he's like, I'm going to go down this road with everybody playing with a fire hydrant that's
so
open.
Great.
And he's got the tie open. It's like, close the tie.
He yells at them and threatens them.
That's right.
And then drives right in front of the fire hydrant.
I'm coming through your neighborhood, and I'm seeing what you're doing before I even enter the neighborhood, but I want you to stop it. And I'm not going to raise my top of my car.
Right. I just want you to know this is a collector's item.
I'm going to swear at you and then drive get it wet. And expect nothing to happen.
Well, this was a part in the movie, and I know we're going to get to the cops, but this was a part in the movie when the cops show up. Right. And they kind of turn off the hydrant, and this guy's complaining this and that. This is the part of the movie where I was like, oh, I guess the cops are pretty cool because they don't do anything. They kind of just go, oh, did you get their names? You didn't get their names?
Right.
What are we going to do? What do you want to do? Like, we can't do anything. And I was
they almost make fun of him, the Goomba. Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
And I was like, oh, I guess these cops are okay, but that is not the case.
No. Later on, we find they have some aggression.
I did think it was interesting that other than the Italian guys, we don't see a single white guy except for the guy in the Celtics jersey.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, and he's like, I bought this place. And they seem to be surprised that he lives there. He lives like a block down from
They've
You've
never seen him before.
this
And he rides a bike.
No.
And he wears a Larry Bird jersey. It's pretty noticeable in that neighborhood. But what I noticed about him is he's got a little proto man bun on the back of his hair, right?
Yep.
And I think I think it's like Spike Lee kind of knew what was going to happen to Brooklyn, right? Like from what I understand, it's been super gentrified, like and very like man bunny and very like hipstery, and like people probably dress like that Larry Bird guy now, but like ironically, like in Brooklyn, I
do like how you said man bunny, and I just pictured a guy in a bunny suit. There's a lot of them in Brooklyn.
Man bunny is only the second worst thing that I've said today. The first one is I love sweet dick.
That's the first time I did a spit take on this podcast.
That was amazing.
So really,
I was really excited about it.
Yeah, you did. I saw he was sipping. He was sipping a beverage when
you
said how much you love sweet dick.
We're a year and a half into this, so nice job.
Wow, a year and a half. Good job, guys.
Almost.
Oh,
I'm rounding.
Sorry. I take it back. So, hey, the music in this movie was done by Spike Lee's father.
Wow, such immersion.
I like that it was like a real family. Like, there's a plaque in that neighborhood where they shot the movie that, like, to commemorate, they put a plaque up, like, to commemorate that they shot that movie there. That's how, like, I guess, full of themselves they were. No, I'm kidding. Because you wouldn't put a plaque, like, the day that you stopped making a movie. Like, how do you know you didn't make the worst movie ever until you edit it together and make sure,
I don't know if they made the plaque the day they stopped shooting.
They're like, well,
he's like, listen, I had this for a few weeks. I was waiting until we were done. Here we go.
When the budget got approved, I made this plaque.
Yeah, Night of the Hunter with Robert Mitchum, right? Like, he is a great you should watch this movie, Jamie. It's pretty great. And what's great, I don't know why, I know why he stole it, because it's like just this great bit of dialogue that it's just like, right. And then putting it in that context.
It was powerful.
I felt like it was more appropriate in this movie,
right,
than Night of the Hunter.
Because in that movie, Night of the Hunter, he's like an evil child killer villain. Like, so right. Like when he gives that speech, it has a darker, obvious, like, love is less important. You realize hate is probably like,
this has sort of got a Bob Marley twist to it.
And hate seems to be but then love comes up, and it's so great just to watch Radio Raheem do it. And
did you go
word
back
for word?
Did you go back to look up on YouTube that scene?
I didn't. I'm sure there's probably a side by side.
I'm just interested. I've never done it like where I've like watched them side to side and tried to like see if there were like main differences, but the main difference is that it recontextualizes that whole speech, and for this movie it's like it's profound and everything like that, especially, but also if you knew that reference, would that make you think, like, the first time watching it, oh, maybe Radio Raheem's a bad guy, you know what I mean, or not, you know what I mean, like, was that supposed to put a seed of doubt? Probably not. I don't know, I'm just overthinking it.
He did have some, I think Radio Raheem was just obnoxious, like you were talking about earlier, how he, not obnoxious. I know you loved him, Doug.
I loved him. When he goes in for those batteries, that's my favorite scene in this entire movie.
Yes.
Because I love that the Koreans can't understand the difference between C and D, even though they clearly say C and D. I just always like, D, motherfuckers, D. How many?
Amazing.
20. I love how you get 20 batteries.
That's a big boombox. It's a big boombox.
And when you think about how much he must have had to spend on those batteries to have his radio ruined so quickly
and
after
he makes
that.
him take them out and recount how many.
That's
true.
Sure.
Recount all of those batteries.
She's so scared too, but pissed at the same time.
I never think I noticed that was like, it's a couple times in the movie too that does this with different characters, where it's literally from Radio Raheem's point of view, like, and he's talking from behind the camera basically, and like commenting on what these people are doing. But like, that's really like you said, Doug, earlier, like you kind of getting in. Spike Lee's kind of getting into every character's heads. He's trying to see their point of view and go like, what? Because this movie was made on the heels of like all this racial unrest in New York and a lot of riots.
The way that this movie shot, I think, is amazing. Like, there's
so fun.
When Mookie walks down the street and it's a tracking shot just following him, and he crosses the street and the camera goes with him. When mother, sister, and Ozzie Davis are interacting, like their first interaction, the camera's on
it's very angled. It's kind of poetic, yeah.
And then when they finally make a connection at night, it's totally evened out. Like it's a smart movie. And it looks amazing. This movie looks fantastic.
It does look fantastic, and it connects like that Night of the Hunter connection is not just like a like maybe I was searching for like a thematic connection and using that speech, but really like the way that Night of the Hunter was shot is so theatrical and kind of like there's dramatic flourishes that don't make sense that don't have a realistic, like it's like a hyper realistic or something. Like you remember in that movie, like you see the side of the house is cut out like a set in a theater set or something like that, and there's parts of Do the Right Thing that feel like a studio movie from the 50s or 40s or something like that, and that like, you know, he's trying to make like, hey, we never got to have like black faces in these kind of movies, so maybe that's why he's making these kind of choices to make a classic American movie about this sort of, you know, issue, which wouldn't have been necessarily covered in those times, you know what I mean?
Well, there was just a little, I didn't know, so...
You want to talk about Rosie Perez's nipples, don't you?
Well, that does happen. I'm trying to see where that is.
Is that actually what you were looking for? Your note on that particular scene? Because I would be so proud of myself if I nailed it.
I totally drew it, Press. I totally did.
Show it to us.
Because all of a sudden, okay, all right, well, we'll get there then. Okay, so there's the scene when he goes over to her house to deliver a pizza, and it's a hot day, and she doesn't want to just mess around. She wants him, you know, he doesn't really come over very often. He sounds sort of like
a week, apparently,
dad.
yeah.
When you do realize he's the dad to this kid, you realize how very not in the kid's life he is.
Right.
Now he's earning the dough, he's making, you know, the deliveries on the pizza, whatever. So it's a little creepy because she seems to live in a small apartment with her mother and her kid, and he goes to get ice, and he comes back and he rubs her on all these, the elbow, the knee, the shoulder pads. I don't know where else.
Shoulder pads? What are you talking about?
Yeah, she was wearing Melanie Griffith's jacket from Working Girl. You don't remember that?
And he was rubbing and going, thank God for shoulder pads.
These must be hot.
That was a weird scene. It was...
Well, it's to show their intimacy, I guess, and she's laughing and he's goofy. But then all of a sudden she is totally like, is it later on? There's a point where she's yelling for him and she's just in her underwear and you just see her legs and you think, oh, okay, it's going to be that kind of exposure of like kind of tantalizing and da-da-da. But all of a sudden then it's like full areola booby, like out there crazy. There's also... this is what I thought that maybe, Tom, you would remember and quote, but I don't know that you did. There's at one point where all the characters get to do just kind of a racial slam.
Yeah.
Like different, like what is all of a sudden, like, who does it start out with? Does it start out with?
Starts out with Spike Lee.
With Spike Lee. Okay.
And he's just had sort of a conversation that kind of like is about that, right? And then it just sort of launches it into this like little like, I don't know what you would call this, because I don't know if there's like something similar in other movies that like, you know what I mean? Like it's a strange. It could take you out of the movie if it was a different type of movie. Like if suddenly every character was staring at the screen and just yelling things at it, you'd be like, "Wait, what?" Yeah. They're doing like little like on like straight to camera like monologues. But
it works perfectly.
Totally, yeah. The energy of it, and like I think the way he shoots it and kind of moves the camera in and out. Like I think,
and just the fact that it goes from him to who's the brother?
To Vito Pino.
Yeah, to Pino, and then it goes to the
even
Hispanic
the Korean
guy,
lady is in
and
it.
The Korean guy and the cop. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's trying to hit. And they hit on some epithets that I've never heard before.
I know.
Yeah, they
like,
do.
If you know it, you have to slow it down. And be like, wait a second, what? And what did you say? And there's like references to specific things at the time. I think that are like
I think so
like
too.
Interspersed in there that like are supposed to tell you something, but like. That's quintessentially about that race or whatever, but it's very interesting. I don't like. I kind of love this to happen in every movie at certain points.
Oh yeah,
it's just sort of a brief summary.
You just hear what everyone thinks of everybody all of a sudden. They just start yelling at the camera. Like,
and then I love it because then it ends with Samuel L. Jackson as the DJ in this movie. He plays this role, and every now and then he just kind of comes on. And he's obviously speaking to how hot it is out and that kind of thing.
Right.
But he's just like chill out and chill, and that's what kind of ends that kind of monologue fest. but it's fun.
It's fun. And Jamie, let me ask you, you come from an Italian heritage, right? Mm-hmm. So Pino, throughout this movie, John Turturro, who's like probably like the best actor in this movie in some ways, like in terms of actual like people whose careers.
Did you see Doug's face? I got to see Doug's face.
I mean, there's a lot of great actors, but there's a lot of stage actors, New York actors, and they feel like they're stagey. Like I think there is and also the way it's written. I mean, this guy, he wrote the script in 2 weeks, and he was like, I don't know how old he was, but he was in his 20s probably, right? So like. I feel like you can see some of the, not amateurish, I want to say, but like you can feel that it's like stagey or whatever. But
there's a lot of people in this movie too.
Yeah, there really is.
And the performances are wildly different. I mean, when you see Ozzie Davis, it's flawless and it's effortless and he's amazing. And same with John Turturro, and a lot of the younger guys aren't that great, I guess is what I would say.
But
they're different. You know, it's different, but sometimes it's odd and jarring.
You know what I love? Sweet Dick Willie is the best.
I know you do.
You have to wonder what of those kind of conversations were improv and not between that crew of three there.
Yeah, exactly. Because it feels like they just sit around and like filmed him for a while until they got everything that they could use.
And they just gave him different subject matter.
Now go after the Korean guy. And then the guy got really intense. Like, oh, that guy really hates Koreans. Okay, duly noted.
Beats up Vito.
Yeah, what about that when they just go into the, like, he just like, hey, come in here in the other room, and he just wrestles him for a while.
It's like some strange, sweaty wrestling.
Yeah, and then they kind of get close to each other, and he's kind of like, I love you, though. I love you. And it's like, whoa, what's happening? Are these guys taking this brother thing?
It gets a little, so Vito has a little closeness that happens, right, with Mookie.
Right.
And that really bothers Pino, and Pino wants Vito not to trust. It sounds like Mario Luigi, like Pino Vito, not to trust Mookie.
I think he's trying to, like, I think what he's afraid of is his brother, like, hero worshipping Mookie and becoming close to him, and not, that relationship, like, being severed in some way. And, like, because Mookie tries to encourage him to beat the shit out of him at some point, you know what I mean? When he talks back to him or whatever. And,
right in front of his face.
And he does.
He's like, what did we talk about? What did we talk about? Come on, hit him. Like we said that you would.
His brother almost wants to do it, but then he obviously gets, like, browbeaten down right away from doing that. But then I think, like, that's simmering under the surface, and then the creepy thing with Danny Aiello and the girl happens before the wrestling scene, right? So, like, maybe he's mad at him for a whole bunch of reasons, and it's all kind of complicated. But it is weird that they just go into another room to kind of, like, sweaty wrestle each other for a while. Like, if you're ordering a pizza, you don't want to think that the guys are like, hey, we need to take a break, and they go in the back and they're like just wrestling with each other.
I love how he calls them. Hey, where are you? Oh, we'll be right out. What are they doing in there? It's the smallest storeroom too.
No, exactly. What could they possibly be doing in there? We're counting the cheese.
This hot day is coming to an end. Yeah.
They're about to close down for the evening.
It feels like a relief when it becomes nighttime too, doesn't it? Like when it finally all the blazing colors and everything sort of tones down, and Mother Sister's kind of like calmly talking, and you're just like, oh, this is good. Now everything's going to get kind of like eased out a little bit.
Mother Sister and Mayor do have their little love that kind of grows. He brings her flowers and stuff. It's very
so cute.
Very nice. As the nighttime comes and everyone's sort of getting ready for this hot day to end, we're closing up the pizza shop, and those couple little local kids, that little motley crew of just locals, come to have one final piece of pizza before the shop is closed, right?
They're all just mashed up against the door. Like, just let us in.
But I don't know if that was the same for you working in a pizzeria, Tom, but we used to have that happen all the time. Like, our pizzeria would close at 11, and we would... And there was a movie theater across the street.
It's like, I want a delivery, and you have to do it.
Or people would just wander in, and if we had the pizza, like, it was like, all right. And I worked for a big, like, he was a nice guy. He'd be like, oh, let him in, let him have the pie. And you're like, because now Mookie needs to get on and get home. He needs to get paid, get home to his lady, and we just want this night to end. So this crew comes in, and then Raheem comes in, right, with his stereo.
Radio Raheem teams up with Bugging Out and
Smiley.
Okay. Stuttery Joe. Yeah. And,
Stuttery Joe.
and the
I forgot
three of
it,
them
yeah.
come in, music blaring, and Sal is having
So
nothing.
rude.
It's just people screaming.
It's
over
so
Public
loud.
Enemy.
Well, I wanted to say this, but that Raheem, that radio, it is so painfully loud. I would be equally annoyed.
And
in
you are
my
the problem
place of
with
business.
this country, Jamie. This is why we can't have good radio stations, because you hate that music so much.
Not because I hate the music; it's just out of an
And it is at
intolerable
night,
volume.
and it appears as though he's playing one song all day long.
No, and he literally is like
Over
this
and
bugging out,
over.
asking like, so "Why don't you play any other songs?" He's like, "This Public Enemy is dope," and he's like, "Well, yeah, but like, there's other dope songs,
he even,
even by the
he
same
even
group."
says something like, "Don't you have any other tape?" And I'm like, if he has a tape, there's other songs on that tape. Like, what did he just
It's
buy
just
the
one on
single and that's it?
Well, yeah, that's a good point. But I remember I had a tape that I made for myself where I had.
Did you record it off the radio?
I love
I actually
doing that.
I high speed dubbed the
Oh.
song "The Lion Sleeps Tonight," which I really like that song, "The Lion Sleeps Tonight." So I made a cassette that had one whole side was just that song over and over again, so I could just push play and listen to it.
What?
I loved it so
That's
much.
so ironic. I got that song. That's so funny. I don't know if we've ever told each other this. I one time got that I had a tape that had more than that song on it, but the tape got stuck in my car, so it would play that song on repeat.
Oh,
I hated that song.
actual song?
Because that's so weird.
It's like Tom's dream car.
Exactly.
It's weird to put the same song over and over again on a tape, and I think Radio Raheem also has some mental problems. Because why is he going into stores and playing? And that's a crazy thing to do. And then the same song, you're right, over and over again. But
He's radio right. I mean, he has his thing.
he has his thing. That's
well,
his thing.
but now his thing gets beat the shit out of because Danny Aiello, Sal freaks out and tensions are rising. It's the end of this hot day. And they were getting in his face. It's not just about the music, like you said. They're getting in his face about the pictures and wanting to have different pictures. And Sal loses his shit. And he just takes a baseball bat. Now we don't know if he's going to hit a person or what. But he destroys Raheem's radio, which is basically like beating his soul. Right?
I felt kind of bad, too, because Sal looked down at it, and I was like, oh, just say you're sorry. And he goes, I killed your radio. No, that's not what you say. You just say, sorry about that. I will pay you for a new one. Like, that's what you do.
Right, because you see him just rage out like you could tell the day has just gotten to him. It was a tough day. He had to hold back his son. Earlier there was, like, he really has to kind of keep Pino under wraps.
Right.
And Pino freaked out earlier on, I want to call him Stutter and Dan, Smiley.
You guys are so mean to Smiley.
And he's just getting he's getting flack. Even the cops came in at one point and was like, when are you going to move out of this neighborhood? Right. To Sal.
Right.
So Sal's just kind of, when he goes to town on the radio, you kind of feel like he's taking out like the hot day on the radio, but now it becomes.
But what's interesting though, Jamie, is that like right before this all goes down, like literally before those people are all smashing their faces up against the windows, demanding to get in for a slice, Sal kind of looks around and he's like, it was a good day, and one day I'm gonna change the name of this place to Sal and Sons.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
And,
he's got that nice.
Yeah,
and
he's having a
Mookie
fantasy
like his
in his
son.
head about how great things are there, and like
that was one of the only things that kind of bothered me about this is that right then I was like, oh no.
Yeah, you
this
knew
is
bad
things were about to
Is
happen.
that when you felt the
don't
omen?
do that. Like once a movie does that,
it telegraphs
and I'm
it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
also, like, they have to pack all this drama into this one day and like let you know, like this. I think if you they could have done it as simply as him just going, like, looking at his sons and going, not such a bad day, or something simple, and you would have been like, you've got everything he said there, and then the thing that happens afterwards. But he kind of gilds a lily and kind of makes it super melodramatic, and like he's like, this is our business and our town and our, whatever he says.
I did love when he said it was a good day and they had a good business, because I was thinking that the whole movie. I'm like, Sal's is fucking jumping.
People are here all day. Yeah.
And I mean, people don't have
It's
to
the
get
only
up because the
pizza
pizza
to
comes
get
2
down.
doors down to them.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Radio Raheem grabs the stunt Sal and drags him right over top.
Nobody could have pulled Danny Aiello across that counter. That's true.
It's really fun. Yeah. The fight spills out into the street.
Yeah, it gets ugly real quick.
Yeah.
You know, Sal did drop the N-word right before he takes the bat out to the radio. So, like, that also happened. And I think that for him, it was like, that was the bridge he didn't want to cross, and then he did. And I think once he crossed that bridge and everyone reacted, I think it was like, well, I might as well be that guy and start bashing this radio in with the bat. Yeah.
Well, so things get heated. People are screaming out in the streets, stop, no. Cops are called. It's our same friendly cops, like you said from earlier, that seem to be okay with the neighborhood. This is when it just takes a turn. So when they go on to I honestly didn't see this coming to this extent. They get on to Raheem because they're trying to.
Like, it's good. It's cool that you got to have that, first time,
like
not
what's
knowing
really
going to
happen. Yeah. I mean, I thought this. Oh, look, this day, and this is where it's gone, and da da da. But so then all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, they choke him out. They choke Raheem to death.
Oh.
This big guy, they get up on him, they put the baton by, and they just, till he's dead. Till he falls to the floor, and then they kick him, and they tell him to get up.
It is kind of upsetting when he falls down, and you see his eyes are open, and clearly he's dead, and it's pretty brutal.
What's so funny. Not funny.
Yeah, it's not funny, Jamie. Please, go on. Tell us what was funny about it.
I texted one or both of you. I was like, this was just kind of a fun romp throughout the neighborhood with Mookie and selling pizzas. And there was but then all of a sudden it takes this, major twist. Yeah. I mean, I guess, like y'all said, it was kind of headed down that way, but I didn't think it was going to go right to there. And then when it does, you're like, shit, now shit's really going to happen. Yeah, what is going to happen?
It's pretty upsetting because you care about every single character. You care about Danny Aiello and Sal and his family, and you care about everybody. You understand why things happen the way they do, but you also, because they took the time to just show you everybody and learn about them. And they made
everyone, like you said, everyone's got a likable quality and a dislikable quality or something that you're... So they made everybody kind of real. So... you didn't want Raheem to die, but you also didn't want Sal to lose his business, which is what...
Yeah, and they throw his corpse in the back of the police car.
That seems against protocol if you want to. Just at the very least, I mean, there's a lot of bad things happening in that scene, and that's like the 15th bad thing, but come on, you can't take a body that way. You have to have some due process or whatever they call it.
Something.
A coroner has to come. There's got to be a crime scene tape gets put up.
We'll take care of this back at the station.
Exactly. They drive away and they're like, oh shit, we forgot to make sure they don't burn the place down.
That's right. They have to turn around, I guess, about 5 minutes later.
Yeah. They don't get very far.
I assume it is the same cops have to turn around with Buggins still in the back seat.
Radio Raheem still in the trunk.
In the back seat, and they're still poking him in the chest and face with batons.
I know, and when you see that movie in 1989, it's like, oh wow, that's crazy. But now when having seen videos that look like these encounters, it's
so much like it. Yeah,
it's like Spike Lee must just walk around all day going, see, I told you, motherfuckers. There's a problem.
Sal's place does get eventually ransacked, and everybody runs in.
Oh yeah.
Play with matches. Stuttery Joe lights the place on fire. But
totally.
Why do you guys think that Spike Lee Mookie picked up that garbage can, threw it through the window? He's the one that, I don't want to say started the whole thing.
But he does kind of start the whole let's turn on the business.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's the one thing. This is also true from knowing interviews with Spike Lee and stuff. This is the one thing that kind of the question, Mookie threw the can, he didn't do the right thing. We know that the cops didn't do the right thing, but who cares that he threw the can more than this guy got killed over his radio out in the street. And so I think Mookie's reaction was sort of just looking at what was happening and realizing how over the, or through the looking glass that they are in terms of this symbiotic relationship this neighborhood had has just completely been fractured. And I feel like Radio Raheem's dead and he didn't know what else to do. And he's that radio, and like you said, was Radio Raheem's soul. That business was Sal's soul. And I think he felt like it was an even Steven kind of thing. Even though it's not, the dead guy's way more important, but like he said, the insurance will cover this or whatever he says at the end of the movie. And I think it's a complicated action because you're it's not the right thing to do, obviously. It's not, but you know, that's what these conversations often break down over lines between, well, you know, like when people get upset about what is happening in their neighborhood and they destroy properties in their own neighborhood, we can't understand that as much, you know what I mean, if we don't live in those neighborhoods. And that's Mookie's job. That's that's basically his whole world revolves around that place.
I like that. So, yeah, it's after this, he goes back the next day to get his money.
I
know. That's totally like...
He's like, I gotta go get paid. I have to go. And there is sad Sal just sitting outside his pizzeria with $500 of cash plus in his pocket.
When he wakes up in the morning and he's like, I'm gonna go get my money. I'm like, no, this isn't what happened.
Yeah, I was like, I think it's bad timing. Very bad timing,
man. You don't walk up and go, hey.
You gotta lay low. You gotta lay low. Yeah, you don't get in your boss's face.
And you see in Danny Aiello's face, like, it's kind of a great acting moment because he, like, you can see it in his eyes almost. He's like, I can't believe this guy has shown back up here. Like, I can't believe this. This is even, I wanted to sit here and feel bad about myself. I can't believe he's coming back to rub it in.
Yeah.
But it is a great exchange at the end because he asks for his $250.
Yeah.
Sal throws $500 at him
because he's just like,
and then he throws $2 back and says, "I owe you $50."
Exactly.
So let's fast forward here, and your thoughts on the movie, Jamie. Did you enjoy it? You've never seen it before. Like, what was your overall feeling? Did you like what you saw? Would you recommend this?
No, I did. I enjoyed the movie. Having not seen it before, I enjoyed it. It was a nice little, like I said, for most of it, I found it to be like a fun little romp through the neighborhood with Mookie, and I craved pizza, and I wanted to read some beat poetry and just jive and listen to some Miles Davis maybe. And so I enjoyed it. And then when it got heavy, I because I wasn't prepared for it, I guess, I got a little uncomfortable, but not in a like, oh, now I don't like the movie way.
Did you get mad at the movie?
Well, it made me even think. And then at the end of what I thought was just sort of this fun, when I thought I was just kind of romping through this neighborhood, then all of a sudden I was like, fuck, now I got to think about life and how this affects and why did he throw the garbage can? And yeah. I did enjoy it, having not seen it before. Doug, did you?
I haven't seen it in so long. I really did. It's, even though it gets heavy, like there are movies out there that deal with race relations that are so heavy, and this is so rewatchable. Like, this is such an entertaining movie. For as much as there are serious messages here, it's not a slog to get through. It's not tough, it's not dour, it's a good movie, and it, like I said, it looks amazing, and I could watch this again many times. It's a gorgeous movie too, and it it just looks, and there's so many things about Spike Lee's style that over the years have gotten annoying as he's tried to revisit like stylistic things that he's done, and his movies have gotten less and less successful over the years in terms of like, none of them have gotten to this place that he got with this movie. Although Malcolm X is pretty amazing if you ever get a chance to watch that, if you've got 4 hours.
I said Denzel Washington plays Malcolm X.
Yeah, he does.
He better, because he looks just like him. Like at the end when they showed a picture of Malcolm X, I was like, is that Martin Luther King with Denzel Washington?
Those are the only 3 black people Jamie had ever seen before she saw this movie. At the end of this, we do recommend a movie that has some sort of relation to what we have watched. Jamie, Do you want to do yours first?
I like the movie 29th Street. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's with Danny Aiello and I want to say Frank Pesh, who also wrote the movie. It's based on a true story about this guy that won the New York State Lottery and how it kind of
what's it called? I've never heard of it.
29th Street.
I feel like I've heard of this movie. Did it have a different title, though?
No. Nope, that's
Isn't there a Danny Aiello movie called The Pickle, and is it a different movie than the one you're talking about? Were there any pickles
Probably.
involved?
I mean, I wish that I could see a movie where Danny Aiello ate a pickle, but this is not that. He does make a pizza. He does a better job making a pizza. And who's that? Elia Kazan? Who's that bigger lady that sings? What's her first name?
Elia Kazan is a director from the 50s.
Yes, a director. He directed On the Waterfront.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, in this movie, he's married to Danny Aiello, so it's really good, guys.
My recommendation is going to start with a movie that I don't recommend. So in 2013, Spike Lee directed a movie called Old Boy. I do not recommend that people see that movie.
No.
But it's a remake of a 2003 South Korean movie called Old Boy, which is amazing.
Yeah, you've got to see that.
So do not watch the Spike. Although the Spike Lee one is interesting in that I read the studio cut over a half hour, and he was so upset. It's his only film that does not say a Spike Lee joint on it. So he dropped that moniker.
I don't know why the hell he ever made that movie. That just doesn't seem like a movie that would have anything to do with him. Jamie, I don't know if you'll like Old Boy, but you should definitely go on YouTube and just put Old Boy octopus scene and then just watch that. And I think
that's pretty good.
And then that'll make you. Then you'll know from that moment whether you'll want to watch the rest of the movie or not. And I bet the answer is going to be no, but we'll see.
It's fun and it's very dark, and the ending is super upsetting.
Is it the hammer fight is in that movie? The hammer hallway thing?
Yeah. Where it's a single shot. And
how does Spike Lee manage that? Does he do something? Does he try to do something similar to it, or
he does something so similar? It's pretty much the same thing.
So, well, I would recommend actually, previous to Do the Right Thing, especially if you like the lighthearted, fun, up in your face, comical aspects of Do the Right Thing, but you were more taken aback by the dark turn that it takes at the end, and you just want to have the light and frothy fun. If you ever check out the movie, what's it called? School Days? That's his movie right before he did Do the Right Thing. It's about college, and it's also about race politics, but it's more about like black on black race issues, like lightness, skin lightness, or whatever. But that's one of the themes. But it's a really interesting movie and has some great actors in it. Lawrence Fishburne, I think, is in it, maybe. But it's not like one of his best movies. But it's a really good like precursor to Do the Right Thing. And I also enjoy Danny Aiello in the movie Hudson Hawk with Bruce Willis. I chose on purpose to watch that movie twice.
I once had to, I was in high school, and I had to write a paper the night before it was due because I didn't do any sort of preparation or research or anything.
That's
so
the whole way I did
all
college.
The night before, and on my little 13-inch TV in my room, Hudson Hawk was on TBS, and it was when they would show a movie and then instantly show it again.
Yeah.
So I watched it twice in one night while trying to write a paper.
We both see it twice then.
Yep.
It's a movie.
And I didn't understand how bad it was. Like, I remember watching it going, oh, like you said, that's a movie.
Yeah.
And then after that, everybody kept talking about how horrible it is, and it ended up on all these worst lists. I need to watch it again to see if it was really.
Does it fit into your window of movies?
It's like the 90s.
Is it just 1990 or 91 or something?
Yeah, I believe so.
Because it took a couple of years after Die Hard for Bruce Willis to get the kind of cachet you need to make a piece of shit that expensive.
Yep, that's right. All right, so Tom, is there anything before we stop this? Is there anything that you would like to plug? Anywhere people could find you? If you want people to find you, anything you want to talk about, you can say no. That's fine.
I don't have any thing that would be plug worthy. I don't think, except for my general personality and disposition. I'm an enjoyable person to be around, and I could use more friends because some of mine have moved away from me.
So do you want to give out your address?
I do want to give out my address. If you're ever in North Torrance, we call it the No-Toe, just so you know.
Amazing. All right, so Jamie, we are going to, in 2 weeks, Jamie, it's my birthday choice.
That's right.
Which means this movie does not have to relate to anything going on in late August, early September. I can pick whatever I want.
Yeah.
Last year I picked RoboCop because it was a movie I saw and I loved and I wanted to watch it again and I wanted to make you watch it.
And I did.
This year I am picking a movie that I have never seen, but I have always been told to watch because it is supposedly insane. So we're going to watch a movie about singing and dancing on roller skates called Xanadu.
Oh, shit!
Wow.
That's the polar opposite of Do the Right Thing.
It really is. So in 2 weeks, we're going to cover that. And also, Jamie, in 2 weeks, we're going to have a bit of a crossover episode with another podcast. It's a podcast called Musical Notation, where this guy talks about music in film. He's going to talk about the soundtrack to Xanadu.
And
we're going to talk about
Olivia Newton-John, right?
Yeah. All right, everybody. So that is it until we talk to you again in 2 weeks. Bye.
D Energizers.
20 C Energizers?
D, not C, D.
C Energizers?
D, motherfucker, D. Learn to speak English first, all right? D.